Hello lovely people of Western and Whirl Mutual Aid Group. Thank you again for tuning in. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Bev G Star. I'm a local artist and a workshop host in and around Weston-super-Mare. How I normally start my workshops is once I've introduced myself, I normally ask everybody in my sessions to introduce themselves. So if you're watching now or if you're watching at a later date, please pop your name up, say where you're from. If you're interested, maybe you've made a spring wreath before, I'd love to hear about it. So, one of my most popular workshops in and around Weston is the wreaths that I make. So I run at Christmas time and springtime, sometimes in the autumn also, I run spring and wreath workshops. So today is my chance and opportunity to show you guys, maybe inspire you to make one for yourself. So ironically enough, as I say every time I start my videos, I spend a lot of time in my workshops inviting people to get out of their homes and tackle social isolation. However, now we are tackling social isolation in a different world, and I'm asking everyone to revert, stay at home and make something creative. So, welcome. Just chill out with my nerves a second and I'll get going. Okay, so here's one I made this morning. This is my spring wreath. I made out of all the things that I could find around my home, and that's what I normally do. Okay, so first you will need today some twigs and sticks, something to work with. So today I've chosen to use willow only because before social isolation, my friend Glenn donated these willow sticks for me. You can use any sticks that you like, but what you need something is with a little bit of flex in it. So, okay, here we go. First thing you need to do, get two of your sticks. So I have this one and I have this one here. You see they're quite long, they're quite thick on this end, and as you come down they get thinner and thinner and thinner. We don't need this thick bit, it's very hard to bend, and we need something that's bendable and maybe something that's slightly a bit more easier to manipulate. So go along your stick, your twig, your piece of wood, and try and find out where it kind of gives. We don't want it too thick, and the reasons you'll see later on as we're getting to the hoop. So what I want you to do, if your twig stick branch is too long, give it a break. Okay, so you'll need two of these. So I'm going to get the next one. I'm going to show you again. It's really long. This is the thinnest end. This is the one I want to work with. I want to stop working, and to find out what's a good flex to work, if you listen to your stick, it gives you a breaking point, it gives you a kind of, I don't know if you can hear it, but a place where it's going to break. You don't want it too thick, you want to snap it. Again, you can use garden shears or whatever it is to snip back. So with the first two pieces of twig, branch, stick, etc. that you have, what I want you to do is change over the ends. So you have one thin and one thick this end, and one thick and one thin here. Now you need to entwine those around themselves, so you need to twist them around themselves. So you need to twist them as much as they will. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, once you have your two, you need to start making the bend. Okay, now earlier on I told you that you need to take off the thickest bits of your twig. That is because they are not very easy to manipulate and bend. So now here comes the hard bit that everyone struggles with at the beginning. What you need to do is you need to get your first thick strip and kind of tuck it under your other two twigs that you've just worked with. So what you're going to do is you're going to spend a few minutes, and sometimes maybe 10 minutes, just working this. It's not as easy as everyone thinks just to kind of get the twig in. This is the hardest bit that normally puts everybody off. So keep going. I'm going to spend a few minutes without embarrassing myself and showing you that it can be done. The reason I do it with two twigs is because if you look here close, you can use the first set thin end of the twigs to kind of manipulate and push through each other. So, and you don't have to actually do it with two. I've actually done it with one before. Now, sorry, I've just realised I forget I'm doing it live, so I need to show people as I go. So what will happen here is you'll start to form this shape. Now, When I posted up the description of things that you'd need, I also said that you might want to use string or you might want to use wire. This is the time in the workshop or you making at home that you might want to use some wire. I like to use it without wire, but all else fails and if I'm sat here for hideously 20 minutes trying to do the first base, then I'm going to need some wire just to wrap around these two first twigs. Okay, so it's not staying, so I'm going to do that again. So I just need to balance it through and I'm going to pop it under. Okay, this is why nothing goes to plan ever. Okay, we're going to do this again. And this is, I was actually holding back of doing this workshop, but a friend of mine really wanted to know how to do it. So I'm bringing my twigs in, I'm pushing them under each other and just making them balance. Okay, just making them balance. Now that is balanced at the minute. It's not very stable, but it's just going to hold for a second. I'm just going to manipulate it slightly and it looks no way near like a circle. However, bear with yourself, this is not an activity that can be done just within the minutes. Okay. And if you've got all the time in the world, like a lot of us have at the minute, just bear with it, okay? So that's my first two twigs twisted together and made into a kind of circle shape. Now earlier on I was explaining that you don't need the thick ends of the branch, and this is why. Because what you'll see is these branches will stick out. For now, that's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to use that thickness to build up again. So what you need to do now, once you've got your rough circle that's kind of balancing and holding on each other, we're going to get another twig. Okay, so again, you can use any sticks you find from the garden, but as long as they've got a little bit of a bend in them. So you don't want to use this bit of the stick, it's just too hard to manipulate sometimes. You can make it work, but it takes again a longer time and a little bit more of dedication. Now again, going back, this is not a circle. It's the closest thing I'm currently going to get to a circle, but it's not a circle. And any second this could flick out, so you've really got to be sort of gentle with it at this point. So to start building on the frame that you've already got, you get your twig, you put your thickest end in first, but just poking out, and then you want to be able to wrap it round. Okay, so I'm going to push it through now with the little bit of bend I've got on it, and I'm going to work with this. It's very touch and go for a minute, and then what happens is when you come back on yourselves, you can actually tuck these little bits onto themselves. Now you're stuck with this twig that's sticking out. I want you to do exactly what you did before, just tuck it in. So again, being just a little bit careful, because at the minute it's not a good structure. Now as you see, as they're starting to wrap around themselves, it's a bit more I'm able to manipulate it better. Okay, so again at the minute, that's not a circle, but it's the closest thing. The circle comes with the building. Okay, so that's 3 twigs, and we're gonna go again. Okay, so you're going to find yourself a nice bendable branch stick, and you're just going to make sure that you can find where it kind of stops being able to you know, bend and twist on itself, and that's snapping. Okay, so here's my next one. It's nice. Sometimes I like to give them a little bit of a warm up and just bend them through before I put them on my wreath. Okay, so what you don't want to do is continue to build up your wreath in this area, starting with these thicker ends. You want to spread these thicker ends out, so kind of thread them through to where you think that they're going to end up, like so. Wrap it round, and then you can use these smaller bits to wrap and pull in those bits that you started with. Okay. And as you can see, this bit's flicked out, but in a bit we'll work back on that and we'll start to just get some shape and get some security against it. Okay, there we go. Again, it's not a circle yet. It's going to take us about 20 minutes to get the shape that we're looking for, because we're going to work by pulling these in with the other things that we've got. Ready to go again? Okay, so get your branch, your twig, your stick, your fake foliage, I don't mind. Okay, find it snapping, put it apart, use shears if you need to. I like to do my workshops as I pretend that everybody in the world has got the same tools as me. my hands and whatever I can find in the garden or around the house. So again, I'm going to stick this in a place, this thicker bit, the thicker bit to the end of the twig, in a place that is more thinner, and try to stop kind of building up these areas. So I'm going to pop it here, and then I'm going to go round, and I'm just going to manipulate that stick, that twig, by resting it on itself and pulling it through. Okay, keep working with it. Don't stop doing it, just keep going. It's not as easy as you think it's going to be first time round. You have to just learn how the twigs work and what materials you've got. Okay, again at the minute I've got these, but what will happen on my next couple of sessions of twigs, I'll start bringing those down with the thinner bits. I'm just trying at this minute just to get a good base. You know, it's not about so much a shape, it's just about getting the twigs together. This probably took me about 45 minutes to find a shape to. I'll quickly show you another one I've made. This is there goes the spool. This is the first one that I made last week. Don't go live unless you know what you're doing. This is the first one I made last week. I actually dressed it up with some foliage and put it on Facebook, so that's the picture that you've seen today in the group. This probably took me about an hour plus foliage to make, okay? So just bear in mind that when you're working with these materials, it doesn't take, it's not an instant thing. So here we go again. You've got a nice bit of bend in this stick, twig, branch, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to work that into my wreath. Okay, so you see this bit here, I want to kind of pull those sticks in. So I'm kind of going to guesstimate with my eye where my thinner bits of my twig are going to work to be able to pull those in like they're some sort of string. Okay, so I'm going to work my back on myself here, bending the stick. Just get that over there for a second, and then I'm gonna, I've actually missed it this time round, but if you just keep working, so you end up with these thinner bits of stick that just bring the design in a little bit more. Okay, so now I've got this big bit, and I've just wrapped the thinner bit of twig around it, and again I can keep doing that, and I can pull it. And the way I get it to hold itself is to just kind of, sometimes you get a bit of a break in the twig, but just work with it a second, because it should be able to hold itself if you just get it jammed in between the two twigs. Okay, again at this stage, if it gets irritating and you want an easy way out, wrap it with wire, that's absolutely fine. Bit of string if you haven't got any wire. Okay, I'm going to get some more twigs a second. I have loads. Like I said, these are willow, so okay, these are a little bit thinner than the ones I've started with to give it kind of a base. Alright, so remember what I said, try and get these thick end bits away from the place that has got already the thicker bits. So by doing so, just let it stick out for a second, and when you get to these bits up here, the bits that you don't want, the bits that you're working to hide, you can pull it down with these thinner bits. I keep missing it every time, but it's okay. Keep working with it. So while I'm doing this, and I'm just sort of finding its shape, I want to say thank you to all the people that have watched my last videos. They were dream catchers, made out of stuff that you find around the house, and also the mandala workshop that I did last week. So mindful mandalas, I was inundated, inboxed by a lot of my friends and new friends showing me their work. Okay, so I've got another stick, I'm going to pop it on, I'm going to twist it around an area that I think needs a little bit of filling, and you see up here bend it. Is it focusing okay? Pulling it through. The workshops that I'm running, these live demos, what I'm hoping to do is use materials that I think that everyone can get hold of. I'm sure with your hours exercise a day, if you popped out and you could find some sticks or twigs that you've got. Okay, so can you see that it's forming more of a circle, and I've got these straggly bits holding out I can just use to any time tuck back in. Okay, I'm really worried about this bit up here, so what I'm going to make sure is when I come over next time, I'm using thinner sticks just to wrap them in like I would wool. Okay, so something like this with a really thin end. I'm actually going to start by wrapping that bit first. Okay. You will get a lot of snappage and you will get a lot of flick backs, but just work with it. Give yourself a break. Not give yourself a break, give the tweed for the break. Okay, can you see it's not a circle, but we're kind of making a shape. It's kind of getting there. I actually doubted myself again this morning, just like I do every week, and I actually made this one just in case that the one behind me, or the one that I showed you earlier, wasn't actually a fluke and it could actually happen. Okay, so here's my current piece. I've got this bit sticking out. I'm going to wrap that back in with a piece of twig in a minute, and I've still got this bit up here that I'm working with. For those of you who are just joining me, today we're making a spring Easter wreath or circlet, whatever you want to call them. We're going to decorate it up with some foliage that I found in my own garden, or you guys can find in your own gardens or out on your walks. So, a lot of this is to do with your eye and how you wish to see things and how you want things. So again, it's a matter of building up. So keep working with it, guys. Just, oh, you hear that? Okay, it's breaking point. I'm going to just tuck it in anywhere. Okay, if you get pieces like this that really aren't kind of, you can't work with them, it's okay just to give it a snap if it will snap. This one isn't gonna, now I've said that. I'm just gonna try and tuck it back in a second. This is why the little shears come in handy, because you can just, and then just as you put one bit in, another pops out. But it's absolutely fine, guys, don't worry about it. Okay, so this is the shape that I've got so far. I'm going to keep working. I've got another 10 minutes with you people. Okay, another thing you can do at this point, you can start sort of bending it into shape a little bit. Again, you'll get those bits that pop out. Okay, it's not going in. I need to get a thinner piece of stick again. Okay, I'm just going to make sure this has not got any thick bits on that I can't work with. It's the thinner ends I want to work with now. I want to see if I can get all these bits in here. So, just thread the sticks through where you know it's strong, where you know that it's a place where the sticks aren't moving very much. Bring your thinner bit in. Try and give it a nice bend. A lot of sticks will break, but if you're gentle with them, you can just get it to manipulate itself round. And again, just tuck that little bit in there somewhere. I'm just going to tuck it in between these two branches here. Can you see that? Just thread it. I don't know how safe it is for a second. You see this little bit, this random, it's too thick, I don't like it, but if I pull a thinner one around it, I'll be able to do something about it. Okay, same again, thread your stick into the wreath that you've been making. Again, it doesn't just take 5 minutes, it's a good old hour job sometimes. So keep working. And I've managed to pull that top bit in. And I've managed to pull that in. Okay, this is hideous looking, but it's going to work out. It doesn't happen instantly. Thread your stick back on itself. It's not focusing very well. Okay, I'm going to do a few more of those before we're going to start decorating it. Thanks for those that are staying with me. Thanks for those that are watching at a later date. Thanks for those that are just giving me nice vibes, spreading your love. doing your thing, using your isolation productively, doing all the things that you promise yourself when you're normally out working. I wish I was at home making and being creative. Well, now is your time. Now is all the time in the world to do the things that you normally don't have time for. Okay. Keep working with it, guys. Just get it fed in. Like I said earlier, I was really apprehensive about doing this workshop or this live demo because it's time consuming and it doesn't happen instantly, and behind the scenes normally you have a lot of time to you know, work with it. Okay, I'm going to go for a few more of those because this area is really ugly and it's not the shape that I want it to be. So just start manipulating it, as in to push down. Oh, thread your sticks wherever you can push them through. I'm going to go with here. Okay, I'm going to pull it through this time without whacking myself in the face. That does happen. Should I have done a disclaimer? Okay, see, I've managed to catch the stick and I want it to hold inside this one that I'm wrapping round because it's ugly at the minute. Okay, so is anybody who's watching or is going to watch or is watching at a later date is planning to make one of these? I'd really love to see them. And if you have any tips for me when you're making yours, I'd love to hear them. Okay, so these bits are a little bit thick. I wish I'd actually broke them off a little bit sooner, but yeah, hindsight's a magical, wonderful thing. So I'm going to do a few more. I'm actually going to do 2 more just to get it settled in. Thinner sticks. So I'm going to break it till about here. Okay, so one more time for those of you that are just joining me. Today we're making some spring wreath, or a spring wreath. Living our best life over here and being creative with the time that we're given that we wouldn't normally have. Okay, so you know what to do. Get yourself some twigs on your evening walk or your morning walk before anybody else is out. So I'm not promoting leaving the house, I'm promoting staying in and doing something creative with your time. Do not think that I want you to leave your houses, because I don't. Okay, so it's not as neat. Look at that. It's not as neat as it would normally be if I had could work on it on a flat surface and I could see what I'm doing. I'm not making excuses for my bad work, but I'm actually trying to show you as I'm going, plus make it look nice. So it's roughly a circle. It's not the prettiest circle I've made. I'm going to do a couple more. I'm so sorry. So this area is really thin as well. The rest of it's really thick. So a lot of it depends on, one, how you want it to look, 2, your creative eye and how you look at things. So what you do is you get your stick, those that are joining me, you thread it through the twigs that we twisted up earlier, and you just keep on building. Okay, keep on wrapping sticks around each other until you have, to your eye, a satisfactory circle that you could work with as a base to make a wreath shape. Okay, I'm probably gonna just see if I can get bend. Hey Christina Young, I hope you're watching. This is what you've asked for. I was apprehensive about doing it live because things don't always work out for me as well as they do behind the scenes. However, I just want to remind you guys that we're all human and nothing really ever works out the way we plan it. So this area is a lot thinner, this area is a lot thicker. However, I could make this work as a wreath, I think. I'm going to do a couple more twigs. So in regards to twigs and sticks, if you're just joining me, the best thing to use is willow. I've used, is it a sycamore tree? Sycamore? I've used sycamore branches before. And another way you can do this, if you already have a, I've dropped something, 2 seconds. If you already have a hoop of some kind and you don't want to spend ages making yourself a new hoop, if you have something like this or maybe a hula hoop, you could actually wrap twigs, sticks, branches, I don't know, hay around this frame. So you've got a good base. Again, it takes a bit of time because you've still got to work with what you've got. Okay, so a few more up here, and then we're going to start decorating our wreath. So I'm going to put it through. I'm going to wrap it around as far as I can get it, nice and neatly. Okay, so I hope that when you guys make your wreath, it's easier because you're not having to demonstrate it as you go, and you spend a little bit more time doing it. So, okay, so once you have a rough circle, this is what you're going to do. You're going to start decorating it. So, as always, here's one I made earlier. Here's the hoop I made last week that I decorated. Exactly the same techniques that I did today, I showed you. I wrapped 2 twigs around each other, twisted them, circled them, and just tucked them in and started weaving. I then picked up more sticks, added them together, and started twisted around the frame until I came up with something that was a little bit prettier normally than this. However, this is a demonstration. This is what we're working with. This is what I'm going to show you. Okay, so I'll just give you an up close of what this is. So here I've got some oranges. These are actually blood oranges. These are normal oranges. I dried them in my own oven and then I put them in the sun. I have some stock flowers from my own garden, a bit of eucalyptus again, some ferny greeny thing that smells pretty nice, and some rose hips that I've put in my wreath to decorate them. So all things that are around my house. I don't normally use the plastic flowers, however, these were actually donated to me a while ago that I've just made use of this morning. But you could use paper flowers, or you could even make your own fabric flowers, or if you have any fake flowers at home that are looking for some love, you could always just pop them. Great. So we're going to make this now. First thing you need to do is make something to hang your wreath up. If you watched my Dreamcatcher workshop last week, I'm obsessed with ripping up fabric into things that I can use it for. So exactly the same as what we did. Find the area you want to make the top of your wreath. I'm going to use this bit here because it's a bit flat and it's not as round as the rest. So I've chosen to use this. So to do so, piece of fabric, fold it into 2, pull it through, and then pull the other pieces of fabric through the loop and then up. Okay, and tie it in a little bit of a knot at the top. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit of a raggy material, it kind of looks effective, a little bit quirky, cottage-like, rustic. You can use the best fabric you find in the world, who knows, whatever you use, it's up to you. So then you have something to hang it on, like your door, your wall, a nail, etc. How's that? I'm going to bring the thing a little bit closer so you can see as I go if it balances. Maybe if I can get the camera a little bit closer, you guys can see as I go what I'm up to. Okay, so here's the base. Again, it's not the prettiest wreath I made. I'm not very happy with these thick bits. I wish I'd snapped them. Hindsight's a magical thing. Here again, however, you can normally disguise them in the things that you do, just in case you do it a little bit off key. Okay, so the first thing I've used for this wreath over here is some ivy. Now the cool thing about ivy is it grows in long strips, so it's a good tool to wrap around. So I'm just going to get my piece of ivy. There's various different amounts of ivy. Look at this one, it's got bigger leaves here and it trails off to smaller leaves. This is quite a cute bit of ivy I found earlier. Okay, so I'm thinking about maybe tucking a little bit of ivy in at the top here. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I don't know, that today I was meant to say something that, I don't know. Again, you can tie this on itself. You can wrap it with wire. We've used in a lot of my workshops before. If you haven't got any wire, something I did years ago to get my own stock of wire is I actually stripped down the appliances that were out for the trash. Okay, so just wrap that ivy. Oh, it's not staying, but we'll just get it to stick by weaving it back on itself. Maybe tucking it in the fabric here. Can you, sorry, I just realised my head's in the way. Okay, so it should stay like that now. I'm going to wrap it. You can go to town, you can just cover the whole thing in flowers, you can just, whatever you feel like doing and whatever you feel like you can get your hands on as well is always a good one. I like kind of leaving absent space in mine. So, again, ivy's really good because it's branch-like and you can tuck it in back on itself. So, here we go. That's my first little bit of work I've done there. I'm probably going to dress up this area and just make a nice little, you know, I don't know, floral display there. I'm going to put some more ivy on a second. So this ivy's quite thick this end. I'm not interested in using that. I'm going to break it off around here. It's got these thin little pieces that are quite pretty. So I'm going to work what I did before just to bulk it out and give it a little bit more green. I'm going to tuck the end of the ivy into the fabric that I've looped over. I'm going to pull the ivy around, wrapping it. And can you see what's already happening is as I'm adding the foliage, well, you won't, the camera's not doing it as justice as it looks in real life, but it's kind of disguising the ugly bits of wood that I didn't want in there. So I'm just going to bring this back up a second. Okay. Again, not the best, but it's going to get prettier. So that's the ivy done. Then you need to start filling out the foliage. The foliage that I've got today is some eucalyptus, some of this cool stuff in the garden. Actually smells like lemon, it smells really nice. So I'm just going to tuck it in. So first thing I do is just kind of place it really. I mean, I'm sure professional florists will tell you how to do it really, really well. I'm not a professional florist, I'm just a creative and I just like making. So I'm just going to tuck these things in where I think they look cute and nice and somewhere I can just thread them through. Can everyone hear my music? I'm not too sure. Buddha bar, a bit like chill house. Okay, not loving it, but I'm working with it. So creative is gradual, not instant. Well, it can be, I suppose. I don't know where I got that quote from. I just made it up. I'm just saying things to fill the silence, really. Okay, here we go. Again, a little bit more eucalyptus-y kind of plant-looking thing. I'm going to thread it down. I'm going to thread it through. I'm just going to pull it and see what happens. I can thread it back up in a minute. So I want it to fill this space. So I know I want it to fill this space. So I'm going to just keep pulling it until I get that space filled. Okay. I'm not too sure how that's looking in real life, in video land, but it's going to work, it's going to work. So I'm just going to fill these areas out. So for those of you that don't know and not met me before, I'm Bev G Star. I'm a workshop host from Weston-super-Mare. I've been running workshops in creativity for about 4 years now and I absolutely love it. I was lucky enough to have the opportunity that the Western and Well Mutual Aid group were looking for someone with creative skills. My name was put in the hat and I managed to get this 2 o'clock start on a Friday to bring you all some creativity, and I'm blessed really because it gives me a great way, because all my workshops were cancelled due to obvious reasons, so it was a really good way for me to 1, step outside my box, 2, build my confidence, and 3, still be creative and teach other people to be creative, because it's just a great thing to do. Okay, I have some bay here, don't know what I'm going to use it for, I'm just going to shove it in and see what happens. So those of you that have been to my creative workshops before, I'd love you to do some posting for me, give me some shout outs, maybe show me what you've made before and tell the other people that it's actually easier than I'm making it look. Okay, so I'm just going to put my bay in there, and again with the extra branches that come off with the bay I can just thread them back through. Great. I thought these cool little Easter wreaths are a good idea. Maybe if you have those little fluffy chicks, you could dress them up with them. I don't have any, so that maybe example was negative. Okay, so I'm just going to tuck my bay in. Again, just making it full, just making it pretty. going to go on my door later, and then I'm going to put one in my garden because I've made quite a few of these. And with the rest of the willow, I'm going to make up some Christmas wreaths ready for my Christmas wreath sale this year. So it doesn't always work first time, you just got to work with what you got. That's how all the best creative ideas are born, I believe. So can you see that? I don't know, maybe it looks a bit too much, but yeah, we're working with it. So other things that I thought you could add, I've got some of these. I haven't got some, I thought I had some. I had some rose hips earlier, but they seem to have gone missing. You need to work with evergreen on these things because if you put flowers on them, the flowers are going to die because they have no water source unless you buy offline the little water source capsules, vases that you can actually put inside wreaths to make them work. For today's purpose, I've got a couple of fake flowers and a couple of real flowers. I'm just going to pop on to kind of give you guys some inspiration, but just be aware if you decide to use the freshest flowers that you've got in your garden, they're going to die and wilt very, very quickly. I'm going to use these little rosebuds that I've got in my garden. I'm just going to stuff them in and just maybe just add some cuteness. Okay. I'm going to take off the excess leaves that I don't want, because what I do want, when I'm threading, I want to be using these branches to thread through my wreath. Okay, so... There. Okay, keep working with it. Again, these are wilting already. Okay, so the other things I'm going to add today are these fake flowers that have somehow ended up in my house, in my garden, in my craft stock. So I'm going to use them. So I would never promote anyone going out and buying them. I like to use things that I already have or can make use of in my garden. So just pop it on somewhere where you think it stands out and looks nice. The fake flowers have a little wire branch, so they work. It's a bit bottom heavy, a bit side heavy, but I'm just working with it, so okay. Is my famous quote going to be just working with it? Because it seems like I've said that a lot today, as well as probably literally. So I'm probably going to put one up here just to balance it. And also, I was going to say maybe hide this ugly spot that's really bare here. Or misshaped from what I made earlier. How's that looking? How's that? I'm going to go with it. I'm just going to keep threading these through. Also, I was looking for suggestions of next week's workshop. So I've been asked to cover in this Friday slot at 2 PM every week in this group, and I was hoping that you guys could maybe give me some ideas of what things that you would like to see. Maybe you've been to my workshops before and there's something that you've made in there that you've enjoyed, that you think that would be really good. Some of these things are really hard to demonstrate live, i.e. making wreaths, because they need a lot of time, and I don't just want to stand here making and feel like I'm, boring you all with my voice, really. Okay. Don't forget, if you're spending a good half an hour on this in your own time and you're not having to host a workshop, you can make it look really, really effective. It looks a bit too top heavy this side. However, again, this is a demo. Nothing ever goes to plan. So the other things that I told you could use was a really good idea that is free and is probably around your house. Hello to those that are just joining me now. Oranges. So they're really effective in the Christmas wreaths. They're pretty cheap, next to nothing, and they're not homegrown, but they're homemade. So I get oranges, I dry them out, and then I put them in the sunshine to dry out also. How I add these is by getting some craft wire. Here is some I had from earlier. Giving it a cut, and I've just lost my scissors. Bending the wire in two and threading it through. the orange itself in 2 different locations. Okay, giving it a twist at the back. Okay, again, these are really good to add onto any wreaths that you make, floral displays with great purpose. And then I just tuck them in somewhere that I think that they're going to look cool, and then wing it. Right, just going to put it in this spot that I didn't like earlier. Again, you can go to town, mate. You can spend hours decorating the whole thing. You can spend weeks doing it, upgrading. The good thing about this is once spring's over, you can upcycle the frame and maybe use it in the autumn, or you can use it, you know, at Christmas, etc., etc. How's that looking from the outside? I don't know if it's not my favourite ever wreath that I've made, but it is pleasing me slightly just because I've gotten it done. The art is in the doing, remember. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just important that you get actually creating. This time we will never get back. How often are we allowed and able to spend so much time finishing our creative projects? So again, thread the wire through the orange. It might pull through sometimes, just like that did. Pull it through again, give it a twist and see what happens. Thread it into your branches, your foliage that you've made previously, that you've added. I don't want to get my big fat head in anyone's way. Twist the wire on, or just pray that it stays. Takes a lot of playing with. It's fun. It's all stuff that's around my garden and found in my home previously, so hopefully you guys have the same thing. Now, we talked about earlier not putting real plants on your wreath because they die pretty quickly, or in my case, unless anybody else can tell me another way to do it, that's absolutely fine. Get these little capsule vases. I'm just going to put some on. These are stocks from my garden. I wish you could smell them. They smell absolutely beautiful. I'm just going to pop them in for some colour and effect today before I finish up. So again, if you guys have any ideas for the workshops coming up next week at 2 PM in this same group, these lovely people have allowed me to take over for 20 minutes to an hour. Okay, spread through your flowers, your evergreen, your foliage, do what you need to do. If you've got some wire and it looks hideous at one point, you can just tie it back. So, how's that? Again, not the best I've ever made, but it's exactly what it's supposed to be, a spring wreath. And then just for a final touch, I've got a few of these that I do in my workshops, little lights. I'm going to wrap some lights in before I pop it on the door. Put it behind the orange acts like a little, I don't know, like an infuser for the light. It just makes it stand out real nice. So all things found from my home and in my garden, brought to you by Bev G Star. Ta-da! That is a spring Easter wreath. So do yourself a favour, pick up a twig, wrap it around another twig and make it into a circle. Fill it out, add some foliage, hang it on a door, make it look pretty, show me some pictures, be creative. Thank you for your time today. Thank you everybody who's always got kind words to say after my, not hideous, but hideous face has been here entertaining you for 20 minutes. Lots of love, guys. Appreciate it always. How do I turn this off again? Aha. Peace.